allowing the Bucks to win the game. They had to have others to close that one out, and he knew that. That, folks, is Bill Walker.
William Henry Walker, aka Bill Walker, born October 9th, 1987. Today's feature was supposed to be the next great NBA Skywalker, right down the lines of where guys like Amare Stoudamire and Vince Carter took it. He was usually compared to Vince Carter in high school and throughout the anticipation of his college career. Some scouts even said that he'd be Vince Carter, but with better handle. Imagine that, a Vince Carter with better handle. Sounds like an elastic reach, right? Because for me, if Vince Carter had better handle, he would have been one of the best players ever. Barring he could only mix the final element of being more aggressive and driven mentally to be the best, of course. Nonetheless, Bill Walker, even without those potential attributes, would have been more than fine, even a possible staple of the late 2000s and 2010s. He had just all the illustrious fixtures that decorate a high school basketball career, including being a part of a generation and class that would change the NBA's direction. 19 of the top 20 players in his high school class made it to the NBA, and he was even included in the top 10 that year. He was heavily recruited by major schools and considered among the players in 2006 that could be one and done, along with Greg Oden and Kevin Durant. The Celtics, during his eventual draft night, said that had the rules not been implemented, they just may have taken a shot at Walker right out of high school. Of course, those rules referred to are the ones that state a player has to be 19 or 1 year removed from high school to be eligible for the NBA draft, written in 2006 and came into effect for the first time in the 06-07 season. This meant players like Greg Oden and Kevin Durant could not jump straight from high school, and that Bill Walker would have to take the long way to his destination, at least longer than thought. With his high-flying game style seemingly perfect for the NBA, his top 10 rankings entering college, and reputation his name carried, Walker was expected to stay no longer than the year removed and enter the NBA draft being selected as a lottery pick, if not top 10 overall. A high-flying wing like Bill Walker that could handle the ball as well presented an intriguing prospect that was checking all the boxes. It's 2021 now, so in hindsight, Henry Walker did fall way shorter than the expectations, but still has a lot to be thankful for, considering all that transpired in his career. The story of how dreams do come true, but sometimes they get interrupted, and you will have to take your time, lie down, and dream them again. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Henry Bill Walker is a 6'6" shooting guard small forward born in Huntington, West Virginia that knew he wanted to be a basketball player since 6 years old. He first realized he could be one and possibly go all the way to the NBA his sophomore year in high school for North College Hill in Ohio, alongside top prospect O.J. Mayo. He would have known earlier had he not suffered a torn ACL in his right knee as a freshman at previous Rose Hill High School in Kentucky that gave him doubts. As Walker recalls, during an AAU game, he leaked out on a fast break, jumped to do his patented windmill dunk, landed awkwardly on his right leg and tore the ACL ligament, taking him out for the rest of the season. It was the first time his determination was tested. He'd heal and come back as a sophomore, and from then on begin to take high school basketball by storm, winning back-to-back state titles, averaging 21 points and 10 rebounds, and becoming the only player at the time to be invited to the famed ABCD camp 3 years straight, winning the MVP in his final year. The ACL was obviously not a problem, and instead of a setback, it seemed as if it never even happened, for the time being at least. Stunt number 1, Deja Vu. By the end of his high school career, Walker had made a remarkable name for himself as a basketball player, but mainly as an athlete. Yes, the ACL tear in his freshman year was cause for concern, but what your eyes told you about his ability when he returned was that his athleticism was still there and may have even improved to the point everyone involved could move on, as it being a thing of the past happening when Walker was still young enough to fully heal. He decided to head to Kansas State, where he enrolled in December of 2006, having completed his high school curriculum early and exhausting all his athletic eligibility. At State, he was able to play in the second semester and played well in the first handful of games. He was averaging 11 points and 5 rebounds in just 23 minutes until in just his 6th game against Texas A&M on January 6, 2007, he tore the ACL again, this time in his left knee. And just like his freshman year in high school, he lied on the hardwood in pain, wondering if those NBA dreams would ever be realized. Unlike the previous, he knew this time exactly what had happened, as his knee swelled and burned in sensation. He was out the remainder of the season, and instead of being a one-and-done prospect like planned, he returned for a second year but was credited with a medical redshirt, making him a freshman, just like the other half of a star-studded duo on paper, Michael Beasley. Beasley came in and immediately assumed the role of not only the best player on the team, but in all college basketball. It took much needed pressure off Walker, and alongside Beasley, he flourished in his first full season, averaging 16 points and 6 rebounds. In the 2008 NCAA tournament, Walker had 22 points in a win against former teammate OJ Mayo and 18 in an eventual loss to Wisconsin. Realizing that injury may stunt his growth once again, he followed Beasley in entering the NBA draft. He was considered a lottery selection. Stunt number 2, third time's a charm. As if things couldn't get any worse for Bill Walker's chances of not only making the NBA, but fulfilling the prophecies that he'd be the heir apparent to Vince Carter, he suffered another injury, and at the worst time. Feeling as having dodged a possible injury bullet after deciding to leave early for the NBA draft, Walker tore the meniscus in his right knee during a pre-draft workout for the Golden State Warriors June 15, 2008, days before the NBA draft. Although it was only thought to be a 4 to 6 week healing process, this was yet another surgery and another injury to Walker's knee that seemed they were aging a lot faster than the 20-year-old. But words of encouragement from his mother, who reminded him of the hardworking family he came from, were all he needed to get back up, just like he's done far too many times in the past for any prospect looking to have high-level dollars invested into them as a first-round pick or even a lottery choice. But his wishful and positive thinking wouldn't be enough to convince understandably afraid teams in the first round to take him. He slid all the way to the 47th overall pick and just 14 selections away from being undrafted. In a silver lining, it was still more than 95% of any amateur basketball player gets, and at least now he had a real chance at fighting for his dream now that he was actually in the ring. Stunt number 3, no need for your services. Unfortunately for players drafted in the second round or not at all, this would be the situation they'd find themselves in at least a few times on the uphill journey that's now in front of them. Henry Bill Walker was no different. He was drafted by the Washington Wizards and rights traded to the Boston Celtics, who he visited 3 days earlier and who had been wanting to select him since his high school days. Yes, he was officially in the NBA, but not quite. The Celtics in 2008 had just defeated the Lakers for the championship and were in the year of defending that title, so you could imagine what a raw, practically one-and-done prospect that had 3 knee surgeries before getting to them, taken near the end of the draft, meant to them in the grand scheme. He suited up for 29 games in his rookie season, spending most of his time on the Celtics D-League affiliate. He'd be recalled a few times, but not enough to convincingly audition for a spot on the roster in year 1 or the 8 games in year 2 before being traded to the Knicks. He played his most significant time under D'Antoni and even found himself in the starting lineup a few times over the next 2.5 seasons. He was eventually waived by the Knicks April 2012 because although it was a great story, his play wasn't enough to win a spot and his athleticism was clearly not the same. His journey across the world and leagues began until he received back-to-back 10 days with the Heat in 2015. They too waived him. He's now signed in the Philippines for this season. All in all, Henry Bill Walker says he did everything to give his daughter a better start than he had. He realized a long time ago he wouldn't be the same, but still good enough to make that happen if nothing else. He made it to the NBA, and that's still a great accomplishment. No, he didn't come close to the Vince Carter comparisons, but is okay settling for being able to play the game he loves for a living and all the lessons the journey has taught him. Salute to Bill Walker, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.